I realized this year I don't want to be a mom. Wouldn't mind being a dad, though. Seems like a pretty sweet gig. Just babysitting on Saturdays, way more my speed. But I don't have to worry about that. I have an IUD. Anyone else? Shocking, Brooklyn. IUD, for those who aren't familiar, is a form of birth control, and there are two different types. They have hormonal IUDs and then non-hormonal IUDs. And the hormonal IUDs are hilarious because they all have very whimsical sounding names. They all sound like Disney fairy godmothers, right? Just like Mirena, Kylina, Skyla, and Liletta. Come with us, darling. Not to worry. We'll help. Come. Keep coming. Come all over us. The non-hormonal IUD sounds a little more aggressive. They called it the Paragord. Sounds like a goddamn bridge troll from Lord of the Rings. Okay? It sounds like it's guarding the castle where the hormonal IUDs live, just slapping dicks out of the way. Paragord! So that's the one I went with. Yeah. It lasts for 12 years. They gave me an appointment card for 2032. And I just think it's wild that this thing is gonna outlast the planet. The way that it works, though, it's a copper wire wrapped around a device that creates a toxic environment in your system. And my whole thing is like, that's it? We just needed to shove a fucking penny up there? So I like to imagine a little Abraham Lincoln in my womb, just taking out the white Confederate soldiers as they march north. All right, we fuck in this room. All right. It feels so good to be here live, you guys. Like, we all had such a shit last year, but I know, like, I still, every time I get on stage, I'm so happy to just be doing this live. We were just not able to do this for 14 months. It was really hard. So thank you guys so much for being here with us. And, yeah, it feels good. We had to do a lot of Zoom comedy last year. Zoom comedy. That's the way it's supposed to be done. Zoom's a part of our lives now. Are we all using it? Yeah. We don't like it. But it's fine. It's what we have, right? I don't know. I think there's one positive thing that's come out of Zoom, and that is hearing these stories of these Zoom masturbators. Did you guys hear about? No. Okay, so there were a couple high-profile cases, like a New Yorker journalist, a couple other ones. These were people who were caught masturbating during work Zoom meetings. Men, obviously. I don't think I had to clarify that for anyone. But they all said the same thing when they got caught. It was an accident. It was an accident. Okay. An accident is when you spill a glass of water on the table. Not when you spill the contents of your balls onto gallery view, okay? If it's happening by accident, then it's too goddamn easy for some of you, okay? We need to give you a hurdle or something, just like a little crotch troll, just like, you may tug freely if you can answer these riddles 3. Because, like, ladies, can you imagine masturbating by accident? masturbate, I have to find a quiet space. Take off my pants, unless I'm wearing 15% Lycra or more. I have to find porn that makes me not want to turn myself into the authorities. I gotta get in the right headspace where I'm focused enough that I'm in my body, but not so focused that I forget that I need to pick up toothpaste today. I gotta get my vibrator to the exact right speed and angle that my clit needs in that moment, because I'll have it for a second and then there it goes like a balloon on a kid's wrist on a windy day. I gotta flip over. I gotta start fucking the imaginary person between my legs. But then I hear the cartilage in my knees crack and I'm like, shit, do I need to go on supplements? I gotta turn the porn off because everything available to us now is just stepmom, stepdaughter, stepson, tight, young, teen. I gotta redirect all my attention to a 1997 Harrison Ford dismissing me for class because that's the only safe thing in this world. And then I gotta come silently so as not to disturb my neighbors. But yeah, I accidentally flicked it during the 10:30 All